Hello and welcome to the CX Files for September 4th, 2025. My name is Mark Hillary and I'm in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
And I'm Peter Ryan, back in Montreal, Mark, after a nice summer break. It was nice to take August off, at least from a podcasting perspective, but excited to be back in the saddle today with you to talk about some exciting elements going on in CX, not just really in terms of this week, but really I'd say for the rest of this quarter going into the end of the year.
Yeah, well, we're just coming back after a few weeks running some flashbacks to COVID 5 years ago, which was, there were some great interviews back then. We really sort of did the interviews and pushed them out immediately just to give people information about what was going on. So hopefully people enjoyed those short flashbacks. But here we are back again. I know that you've just had a refreshing break. You
Yeah.
visited the UK, didn't you? I saw some photos being shared.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah, it was
I'm
nice. Spent some time in Spain as well.
nice. I'm heading out to the UK in a couple of weeks, so I'll hopefully the summer weather lasts later into September anyway. But tell us about the interview that you've got lined up for this week, then.
So, Mark, right before I took off on vacation, I saw an amazing post that was on LinkedIn by our friend and previous CX Files guest from South Africa, Call Lab founder and CEO Cheryl Paarwater, as she's asked me to pronounce her name properly on so many different times, but apologies, my Afrikaans is not great. But Cheryl had done a post following a conference she'd been paneling on where they were discussing the impact of artificial intelligence on CX, but from an employment standpoint. And as you know, and as many of our listeners know, Cheryl has been one of the most passionate advocates for social impact for our industry. And Cheryl raises some legitimate concerns about the dialogue or the talk track that's going on about what will be the impact of artificial intelligence or enhanced AI automation on frontline roles that are currently being serviced by human beings. And she raises some very interesting points as it relates to South Africa that can be extrapolated to different parts of the world. With all the efforts that have been made over the course of the past decade, decade and a half, to raise living standards in so many marginalized communities through CX delivery and bringing people in on the front lines and helping them build careers and seeing the cascade of socioeconomic benefit that that's done. If even a small number of these roles are taken away and that they are passed off to bots or to automated systems, what's going to happen to the advancements socioeconomically that's taken place within so many of these neighborhoods, barrios, suburbs, etc. And we went through a fairly long series of points with Cheryl, and I'm really excited to not just get them out there on the pod, but also to have feedback from friends of ours in different parts of the world to get their take on it too. Because as I say, this is not just something that's localized to South Africa. This will have an impact in other parts of Africa, LATAM, different parts of Asia Pac, potentially even Central and Eastern Europe.
Yeah, and of course it's an interesting debate, and it goes far beyond just CX and BPO as well. Certainly within this industry, if you go back to 23, there was certainly a lot of discussion around the end of the contact center agent, and bots are going to replace everybody. And certainly we've seen a rejection of that idea that everything is over. And that's for a number of reasons. People like being helped by other people. People can have empathy for others. So, that whole idea of relationship building with customer service works much better still with real people. But it's true that for simple problems, it's getting faster and easier to use bots. So we're certainly going to see a bigger percentage of simpler issues wiped out by the bots. But that leaves the question, how do we sort of handle the relationship building service, the service that requires troubleshooting, all this kind of more complex service? But it means that where we focused on having human agents in these roles, they need to be more focused on sort of level 2, level 3, trained in cross-selling and upselling, all these kind of additional things. We can't rely on very basic kind of CX roles anymore.
Yeah, and Cheryl and I talk a little bit about what some of the implications around this and this rationalization is going to be. But Mark, from a broader perspective, I have heard over the course of my time in this industry, which is going over 2 decades now, every time there's a wave of these new technology solutions, it's going to be 10 to 15% of the workstations that are going to be taken out. Whether it was speech automated IVR, that was going to get rid of 10 to 15% of the workstations. Then it was intelligent automation, and that was going to get rid of 10 to 15% of the workstations. Now we're at a point where some of these AI solution sellers are talking about widespread, literal culls of workstations. And as Cheryl and I get into, it's fine to talk about this from an optimization standpoint or a cost efficiency standpoint, but there's a social implication too. And I would recommend that we go right to our interview with Cheryl from Call Lab to find out what her thoughts are so that we can start collecting the thoughts and feedback from some of our friends in different parts of the world. The CX Files always enjoys bringing back provocative guests who have been on the podcast prior to, and today is no exception. So, with that in mind, big welcome to Cheryl Paarwater, who is the MD of Call Lab. For full disclosure, Cheryl is a longtime friend of mine. She has been on the podcast at least 2 or 3 times prior to today. Cheryl, great to see you, and thank you for joining us from your offices in Cape Town.
Thank you, Peter. And I've been called many things before. Provocative has not been one of them, but I will add it to the list. Thank you.
Well, the CX Files is all about new experiences and opening new doors. So we certainly aim to try and provide a level of provocativeness and salience to our listening audience. And I think today is going to be no exception. Now, for those who are not in the know, and that's basically everybody outside you and I, this podcast came together very quickly. Now, Cheryl, you recently attended a conference where you were a panelist in South Africa, and you brought up some fairly, I would say, contentious and controversial statements in a video that you posted directly after your session, which I really enjoyed and I thought deserved a little bit of unpacking, which is why we're on the podcast today. So, as a starter, as a primer for everybody, can you do a starter for 10 for us and explain a little bit about the event you attended and what prompted you to put out that video, which I would recommend everybody who's listening go to your LinkedIn profile and check it out because it's really good. It's about 2.5 minutes. There's some really great statements in there that you make, and I think some very strong opinions. The way you prefaced it was, this is going to be controversial and I'm likely to ruffle some feathers with what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. And I love stuff like that. It's one of the things that keeps LinkedIn interesting, especially in the current era of auto-generated nonsense. You bring a lot of value in terms of your points of view and how you present them. So I'll stop rambling and pass the baton to yourself.
Well, thank you, Peter. And I'm so glad that it came across that way because that's what I tried to do. So the CEM Africa conference, Customer Experience Management Conference, asked myself, Clinton Cohen, another operator at iContact, Reshni Singh, who is the CEO of BPESA, our industry body, if we would join a panel discussion to chat about the effects of AI and automation, and then balancing, especially in the contact center industry, and then balancing the human touch. And I struggle on a personal level with the idea that AI will replace jobs. Now, it's a very biased perception, and it's because of this lens that I look at these things from, which is that humans will always be needed. And if we are operating from a place where we are looking at using technology to replace humans, and it's humans making these decisions, then I am just saying, let's just take a hard look at ourselves and ask ourselves a couple of hard questions as to what are the problems that we will be creating if this is the outcome that we want to replace jobs with tools and platforms and tech, which we are saying will reduce our costs and build efficiencies. So, okay, let's say that that is the outcome. The consequence of that could be joblessness en masse. And then what does that lead to? What in South Africa, we have a huge problem with unemployment. And I know that the reason for so many of our social ills in this country and the high crime rates that we see is because our people are desperate, because they have no income apart from a small government grant. Now, if we, to use corporate slang, 10x that, because, you know, somehow tech can now do so much more than what our entry-level type of positions that were normally earmarked for guys coming straight out of school, those type of positions, if they are now replaced by technology, and we see an increase in the number of people who are without jobs, what is the consequence of that? So it's a very ethical question, but it's a very human-centric one, right? Because if we don't ask these questions and we're not cautious about the decisions that we are making now, then we could sit with a ridiculous, and I mean, if you think of those apocalypse movies, the doom and gloom movies, everybody is just out and to look out for themselves. Can you imagine if maybe it sounds a bit ridiculous, but that is the potential outcome if we continue on the trajectory that we currently are, if we don't just stop and take a hard look and say, okay, what are we actually doing? What is there a different way for us to do it?
But Cheryl, the thing is, when you posted this video, you had a significant number of people comment, you had a significant number of people like it, and the overwhelming nature of the comments that came through were supportive of what you're saying. And I think this is a discussion that a lot of people are having right now. First of all, I'll say very bluntly from my perspective, I think that there's significant technology limitations to the point where I don't see anytime soon where AI-powered bots would be able to take a huge number of jobs. You know, the number that we keep hearing is, oh, it'll automate 10 to 15% of roles, which I've been hearing as long as I've been an analyst in this space. Go back to the speech automated IVR discussion of 2003, 2004. It was, it'll be 10, 15%. Then intelligent automation in 2011, 2011, it'll be 10 to 15%. This is the number that keeps getting thrown around. But I would dare say that so many of the technology companies, and if I'm blunt with you as well, a lot of the BPOs are very guilty of encouraging this perception, of encouraging the fact that you can take wide scale numbers of people and literally throw them out of work and replace them with intelligent robots that will do just as well, if not better. And I think there's now an overwhelming view in the marketplace that A, this isn't pragmatic. It's not realistic either. But from your perspective, and I think this is an important element too, what are the ethics of doing this, especially to a country like South Africa, where our sector has been responsible for not just employing people, but literally raising communities?
Yeah, no, that's and you know, I mean, Peter, you've been part of the movement, I'm going to call it, to place South Africa on the BPO map. And we have seen, I see it in my business. I see the impact, the difference, the change that we are making in the lives of people who probably would not have had this type of environment to work in, this professional skills that they're learning, the upskilling that happens with in these walls. It is very difficult to ignore the impact that the sector has, and our government sees it. There's lots of private-public involvement. There is a focus on ensuring that we continue to grow the sector. And to your point, we're not seeing the impact, the effects, and the major job losses yet. There's been those couple of pilot projects that have failed dismally, where people have been re-employed after they've been let go because now email bot or chat bot or a voice agent is now apparently going to do everything, and then it fails and they have to re-employ. But there's also, this is part of the process of innovation, right? That you will have these hits and misses. So although we're not seeing the huge impact yet, I think that there was a quote where I can't remember what it was, but we tend to overestimate the effects of technology in the short term, but we underestimate the effect of it in the long term. So over a long, so it's not like, okay, ChatGPT came out the other day, now we're on 5. 5 is horrible. I don't know if that's been your experience as well, but
I've not used it, but it's underwhelming from what I can tell.
It's terrible. So there's these tech giants on getting it right, and then we've got clients who think that they can implement these processes to take away, volume, or to do the menial tasks, which is where I think it should sit, but they're not even getting that right. And I shudder to think how much money. With one of my clients, they have been working on a project for over a year. And for over a year, we have been hearing that this, and then they will implement it and they will roll it back, because then the email bot kicks the emails back into the queue, and we're actually duplicating things and it's a mess, and then they roll it back. So there's been those type of projects. There was an article in The Economist where they said that in 2020, just up until this year, I will find it, I'll send it to you, but like 42% of all AI pilot projects have been canned.
Yeah.
So the stats are coming out, and we're seeing that it's not having the impact that we thought it would, right? Which is why I was saying, this hype, it's kind of like just irritating me now.
Yeah.
But can we have a conversation about what's going to happen in the long run? Because it will evolve, it will change. And if we are not measured in our approach, then we could potentially have a problem.
Yeah. And I think that discussion is one that desperately needs to be had in South Africa, as well as all of the destinations in the near shore and the offshore. You raise a really interesting point, Cheryl, about the fact that AI should be not a replacement necessarily, but an enhancement. There's certain processes, I think we can all agree, that can be automated and are currently being automated and are being powered by AI. And I think that's the key thing. This is a tool that powers processes. It makes processes something that would have taken 3 hours before you can do in 3 seconds. This is the reality of a whole series of different administrative tasks that you've got within a CX environment. But you raise something in your video that I really want to explore, and that is using these technologies for helping the agents do their jobs better. And I think this is a real opportunity. Now, the reality too is in 2025, at least the first half of it, everybody in our space who wants to sound intelligent has been throwing around the term agentic AI. It's just like people feel that if others hear them using a term, they're going to sound like they're in the know or something. And I don't agree. I don't like buzzwords. I don't like jargon, but I do know that there is something to this whole concept about whether you call it agent assist, agentic AI, co-pilot. This is a very powerful tool that can be effectively, to use a term, weaponized in making CX better. What's your vision for how these tools can help an agent in South Africa, potentially working for Collab or anywhere else, do their role better? Where's the value here?
Yeah, and it even starts before they come to us, Peter, because I think the place that we can, I mean, there are a lot of people that have the opinion that our education system is completely broken, and that the students that come out of our education system when it comes to schooling, I'm not talking about our universities are amazing, that those students are not ready for the world of work. So there's a place for us to then make use of these technologies to help. That there's schools that are doing AI tutors, and they have seen an increase in the grades of the kids that are using these platforms. So if we can have more businesses, because it's not just a government job. We are in this country, we are working here to help to make things better. I would like to think that is, what was the saying? Don't ask what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Here's a very brilliant opportunity.
Thank you, President Kennedy.
Brilliant opportunity for corporates to make sure that we get the tech into schools, and that we get these kids to be at a level where they can walk into our business and we don't have to teach them the basics. Because I can tell you that when they do walk in here and we do teach them the basics, they absorb it. There's nothing wrong with the young people in this country. It's just that they are not getting the right tools, and they're not getting the opportunity to learn the right skills. So there is a place for us to make sure that we work on that and we focus on that and use AI in that sense to improve the schooling system, right? And then when they come into our business, then there are many opportunities for us to use these platforms when it comes to, doing the menial tasks, the competitive, repetitive, non-complex type of transactions, so that we free them up to do the more high value interactions, which our friend Rod Jones calls the high touch, high care type of interactions. So then you do create a place where the output is now talk about like terms and things, an AI plus human symbiosis. We work together with the technology. The tech isn't here to replace. The tech can't replace. The tech will never be able to replace humans.
Exactly. And I think this is the discussion we need to be having as an industry right now. And unfortunately, you mentioned the ChatGPT phenomenon, and I maintain that since November 2022, our sector has been hijacked by a hype cycle like I've never seen before, that you're not able to have a rational conversation. One of the complaints I hear from so many people is that they'll attend trade shows, they'll attend these large scale events, and it's all a bunch of sci-fi nonsense, and they can't get down to the real business issues. And Cheryl, I don't know if you're picking this up, and this is really something I'm interested in exploring with you as somebody who deals in South Africa with prospects and clients in different parts of the world. Are you getting a sense right now that there's a desire for a back to basics discussion when it comes to delivering solid customer experience? My take on it right now is that enterprise leaders are saying we do not want to keep having certain technologies pushed at it or pushed at us, or we don't want the BPOs and the CX tech players to keep telling us what they want to talk about. Here's what we want to discuss. Here's what we need as customers, as clients of these services and technologies. What's your take on this?
Yes. You know that my background is not really the BPO sector, right? So I come from the payments and utilities world. And early 2000, when there were smart meters coming out into the market, we had smart prepaid electricity meters where there's two-way communication between the meter and then a head-end system. We had our municipalities and our clients tell us that they wanted to replace all of their normal standard prepaid meters, call them dumb meters for lack of a better word, because the thing doesn't have any communication with anything else. It's just in your house. They wanted all of those things to be replaced. And we're talking about a cost of like 10 times more. And the question was, why do you need to replace it? What is, because there is a use case for a smart meter. Somebody who has a holiday home and wants to keep his refrigerator running. So he needs to top up that meter remotely. That is a use case for it. Or where you have a problem where people are bypassing their meters and you're not sure whether their consumption is their real consumption. You put in a smart meter, you know whether the thing is bypassed. But for 95% of the people who just are normal users of electricity and they are able to buy their token and put it in their dumb meter in their house, why would you want to replace the thing? There's no use case for it. So it took like a year or two for the hype to die down and for the constant requests for smart meter replacements to become a thing of the past. But there's always these type of cycles with new tech and stuff coming in. I mean, when we saw cloud computing happening, we thought DBAs were going to be a thing of the past. I think they earn more now than what they used to earn, at that point in time, because there's still a need for them. So the entire the mindset of us as humans, I think, is that when there's something new and flashy, we want it. We don't necessarily understand why we want it, but we want to say that we have implemented AI in our business, and we've got agentic AI, and we're using all of these amazing terms and things, but we never had a need for it. Where was your CSAT? Where was the hard, fast KPIs that you're looking at in your business? What is the cost differentiator between implementing this AI tool versus having the human? Have you really had a look at those numbers? How long does it take for you to implement the thing? Who needs to sit and administer the thing? It's so many questions. When it goes rogue, what do you do? What is your customer's experience at the end of the day? I mean, Delta Airlines, it's a nightmare to deal with them because you can't speak to a person. What is the cost of that experience when your customers, us having conversations like that, the brand cost of us saying you get terrible customer experience. If your bag is lost, it's lost forever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you might recall my adventures at the Atlanta airport last year at CX Outsourcers 2024, when Tracy Freeman and I were literally on a trajectory between the hotel where we were having the event and the airport, going back and forth. And I remember we couldn't get through to anybody on Delta. Trace's bags had been lost, my bags had been lost. And eventually we literally went to the airport and we went to the concourse where the lost baggage office was. And the bags were sitting right outside and they'd been there for like a day. And we went in and I said to them, "We've been trying to phone you." "Oh yeah, sorry, we've been busy." Yeah, so is everybody else. Anyway, look, the reality is, Cheryl, you're right. I think that so many people in our industry right now are chasing the bright, shiny objects. And a few weeks ago, I did an interview with Nicola Collister from Casterian, who I know you met in Munich a few months ago. And Nicola's comment was, when it comes to hype cycles, when it comes to things like cloud technology, she used the example of social media. And everyone said, "We've got to be on social media for six. We've got to be on social media." And then she asked, "Why? Have you figured out why you need this?" And I really think we're at a point now where so many enterprises are asking, this is a very hard question, but they're asking it to their BPO partners or to the tech providers that are trying to push the technology on them. Why do I need it? Tell me the use cases. Tell me what you've done for other organizations where you've implemented these technologies and these solutions, and then maybe I'll consider it. But let's be frank, Cheryl, money's tight everywhere right now. We know that enterprise CX budgets are facing either a shrinking situation or they're flat. And investment dollars are a lot harder to come by when it comes to different line items in a budget. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out over the course of the rest of this year and into 2026.
Yeah, I think it's too early It's too early for corporates to be throwing money at these things without really understanding and asking those questions that you've just asked. And what all you're going to be doing is you are going to be adding to your costs. That's what I've been seeing here. I'm not talking about, listen, I'm not saying everything. I'm talking about those technologies where they are specifically looking at replacing people. Because I have not seen one of those projects actually work, where we have chatbots to help us reduce. We can do more with the current team because, there is a drop in volume because what is my balance type of questions can be answered by a bot. But just yesterday, I was trying to make a booking at a place, and I was chatting with a bot, and this bot responded to me. I just said Vineyard Hotel instead of saying the Vineyard. And it told me we don't have that establishment in our network or something to that effect.
Whatever.
And then it said, would you like to speak to a human agent? And I went, yes, please. And then I asked the same question. And apparently, the not so intelligent human could tell me immediately, yes, we can fit you in.
Yeah, imagine that. It's incredible.
And to repeat my request, because the AI bot didn't even pass on my question to the human. I had to ask her again.
Yeah.
So what is that? What unnecessary step is that in the process?
Agreed.
It's unnecessary. So maybe we should just pause, and then we can all just have this conversation and see, where do we use it best? What is the best use cases? Where has it worked? What do we implement? Where do we implement it? I had with my bank on my business account and on my personal account fraud 2 weeks apart. I am not going to do 500 Rand transactions. 500 Rand is, I bought like $20 or something. Transactions on apple.com in a row. I'm not going to do that on the same day. That was on my personal account. On my business account, there was this thing called Lucky Mobile, 567 Rand, multiple transactions over a period of days. Why do they not have some kind of AI to pick up those important type of things? Why are they focusing on to use the term that I don't understand why we talk about this, seeing as we are humans? Why are they using technology to get rid of humans? Why don't they use it where it needs to be?
Well, that's a great topic for our next podcast, I think, Cheryl. So thank you very much for chatting today. It's been really nice catching up with you, as always. And we look forward to our next visit when either we see you live or on an episode of the CX Files.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
Thanks for listening to the CX Files podcast. We really appreciate your feedback and suggestions. You can reach myself, Mark Hillary, or Peter Ryan via LinkedIn. Please also leave a rating or review on your favourite podcast provider, as that helps more people to find us. As always, we'd like to thank Chris Haig at Traction Media for the CX Files graphics. See you next week.